we'll begin our program. Please stand if you're able for the presentation of our colors. Colors are presented today by American Legion, Orland Park Memorial Post 111, and Orland Palis Rebert Tresman, VFW Memorial Post 2604.
Prepare to post colors. Post.
Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the Star-Spangled Banner sung by Ms. Tina Fisher. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please welcome Ms. Tina Fisher.
Please join me in singing our nation's anthem. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Color guard. Cease.
Please be seated. On behalf of the Village of Orland Park, our Mayor Keith Peathcow, the Board of Trustees, and the Orland Park Veterans Commission, I would like to welcome you to our veterans, students, and families to Orland Park Veterans Day 2019 celebration. Today we honor all veterans and current military men and women. We honor with gratitude and pride 16 veterans that have added their names to the Orland Park Veterans Memorial, Place of Peace, Wall number 5 North. Thank you, all your veterans. We will now have a wreath-laying ceremony. Please stand if you're able for the wreath-laying ceremony in the honor of all veterans. Please acknowledge our students, presenters from Orland Junior High, Riley McDonald and Zach Supanich. Please be seated. I would like to ask Reverend Don Borling, pastor of All Saints Lutheran Church here in Orland Park, to come up here and do our blessing today. Reverend Borling.
honor, and valor and courage. Lord, you plant the seeds of these qualities inside the hearts and souls of every one of us, but nobody exemplifies the honor and the valor and the courage more than our veterans and our men and women in uniform. Lord, we call you by many names, and we come here from many traditions. Just today, I've done just some ordinary things like make coffee, make sure my kid is safe in bed. I come home, I go to work, I drove here this morning, and then I see the flag. The freedom to do ordinary things on ordinary days, every day and every moment. I see the tombstone stretching seemingly for miles. I look in the mirror and I wonder, what have I done for my country lately? Our veterans gave it all. Many paid the ultimate sacrifice, that we may drink from the cup of freedom every single day, that we may live in a country where dreams and second chances are always on our banquet table. And so what can I do? What can we all do? Those whose spirits and lives we honor today, they challenge us to give it all every day in the work that we do and in the persons we strive to be. So, Lord of all life and all religions and all races and credos, our spirit lives forever in those we remember today. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Worley. It's an honor to have our Congressman U.S. Dan Lipinski. I guess Dan is not here with us today, so we wish him well. I think he had other commitments today. Please welcome Air Force combat veteran and Mayor of Orland Park, Mayor Keith Pekow. Mayor Keith.
I want to thank everyone for coming out today. On behalf of the elected officials who are here today, trustees Mike Malani, Bill Healy, Dan Calandrello, and Cindy Katsinas, I want to thank you all for coming here today. I also want to remind the families of the veterans that you are not forgotten. Every veteran in this room is forever indebted to his or her family for your support, which was invaluable. Personally, I think that in many cases, military services is harder on the spouses and the families than it is on the service members. So I want to thank all of you in this room, veterans, military spouses, and families, and the volunteer groups for all that you have given and what you continue to give in serving our country and its veterans. The history of Veterans Day is a relatively simple, but nonetheless important one. It was originally called Armistice Day and was changed to Veterans Day in 1954 to honor all veterans. The Treaty of Versailles, signifying the end of World War I, was signed on June 28, 1919 at the Palace of Versailles to formalize the end of the Great War and cessation of hostilities that actually went into effect on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month of 1918. Hence, Veterans Day is celebrated annually on November 11th. While it is a Memorial Day that honors those that have died for our country, Veterans Day honors all veterans. Nevertheless, for me, this day is personal, since I served, but also suffered losses. I had an uncle who was a navigator in World War II and was killed when his B-17 was shot down on November 21st, 75 years ago. We found out a decade ago that he actually survived the crash, but was pitchforked to death by German farmers just across the border from France. Today, I would like to honor Mr. Larry Jensen, who is in attendance. He is a World War II veteran who also flew B-17s. Just stand up. Also, I served 3 tours to the Middle East in support of the aftermath of Desert Storm and Southern Watch. The men and women I served with and entered combat with were the best that America has to offer, and I was honored to serve alongside them. People who were willing to lay down their lives for our country. Fortunately, I have suffered few personal losses, but Dennis White, Salty Watkins, and Jeff Vonlander gave their lives in the F-15E. They paid the ultimate sacrifice. Lastly, my cousin, who was the same age as me, served in the Navy while I served in the Air Force. 30 years ago, he was an ensign on the USS Iowa when their gun turret exploded. Not something that you expect to see when you're 23 years old. In the end, 47 crewmen were killed. Even in peacetime, brave men and women give their lives in defense of our country. This summer, I went to Hawaii and went to Pearl Harbor, where 2,403 Americans were killed on December 7, 1941. You cannot help but be moved by the Arizona Memorial, where 1,102 men are still entombed. From there, I went to the Pearl Harbor Airfield. Looking at the hangars, the bullet holes from the attack are still visible in the walls and the windows. As someone who flew in the Air Force, looking out over that airfield, I could only imagine the horror and terror of that early morning attack. Finally, I visited the USS Missouri, where the Japanese surrendered on September 2, 1945, ending World War II, due to the efforts of Americans that came together after we were attacked at Pearl Harbor. In all, over 16 million American men and women served in the military in World War II. Additionally, over 3.5 million men and women served as federal civilian employees during that time. In total, that is over 15% of our population at the time. Compare that to only 0.4% of our population serving at this moment. Since those attacks on Pearl Harbor, we have fought several wars that have names: World War II, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, the Gulf War, the war in Iraq. But we have also had a plethora of other skirmishes and the flexing of our military muscles that you may or may not be aware of. Our veterans have defeated imperialism, fascism, Nazism, despotism, and communism. The one commonality between all these political systems is an economic system called socialism. Our veterans work together to achieve these victories. All of the veterans in this room are bound together by an oath of office. I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office upon which I am about to enter. So help me God. There are some key words here. Defend the Constitution of the United States. The core of the United States does not rest in a political party, our president, or the press. The core of the United States is our Constitution. It is not just a piece of paper, and it is not a living and breathing document. It is what our nation, the greatest in the history of Earth, is founded upon, and it was established by we, the people. Against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Our founding fathers knew that our honest, responsible, hardworking citizens needed to be protected from foreign enemies and invaders, and from domestic lawbreakers who would use coercion, fraud, or force to deprive others of their life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. I take this obligation freely, without any mental reservations or purpose of evasion. Our veterans take this risk of their own free will. I want to remind everyone here today that we, the people, have the power to retain our right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. However, a lack of action can just as easily give it away. Lastly, I would like to tell you about an American hero that I was able to fly with during my training in the F-15E Strike Eagle. His name was Colonel Bull Baker, and he was a POW in Cambodia for 8 months and was wounded while trying to escape after shooting several captors. He died almost 50 years later from complications due to those wounds. He also only repatriated POW from Cambodia. He was the only repatriated POW from Cambodia that flew in the Gulf War and received many medals, including 2 Distinguished Flying Crosses, 2 Bronze Stars, a Purple Heart, and the POW medal. While he was captive with 7 other men, he also penned a short poem that says it better than I ever could. We will be a little older, but much more wise, and I don't mean from listening to communist lies. If there's one thing upon which 7 men can agree, that one thing is freedom is not free. Could all of our veterans please stand up? I want to thank you all for your service and for keeping the United States of America safe, strong, and free. Today, I join all of us in the room by giving you the recognition you deserve. Now, I would like to honor the veterans that are here today to get their names engraved on the wall. You can all be seated. Do you have the list of names? So, for all those individuals being named on the wall, as I read your name, could you please stand up? It is with tremendous gratitude and pride that the Village of Orland Park adds the names of the following veterans to the Orland Park Veterans Memorial Arapache Place of Peace Memorial. Robert C. Nelson, U.S. Army. Harry Fred Renderman, U.S. Army. Norman A. Rosinski, Jr., U.S. Army. Daniel Molinari, U.S. Marine Corps. Gerald J. Sobczak, U.S. Army. Charles E. Mazurowski, U.S. Marine Corps. Gerald R. Little, U.S. Army. Alexander James Pevesic, U.S. Army. Robert J. Budaselich, U.S. Army. Ronald P. Basic, Sr., U.S. Army. James Berdusis, U.S. Army. Lawrence E. Jensen, Sr., U.S. Army Air Corps. Thomas K. Shaber, U.S. Navy. John Paul Zilowitz, U.S. Air Force. Anderson Nash, U.S. Army. Please join me in giving all of the veterans being added to our wall and all the veterans here today a round of applause. Thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you, Mayor Pete Cow. Please stand if you're able for a rifle volley followed by taps. Please stand.
Forward, march. Your left, your left, your left, right, left, your left, your left, your left, right, left.
Order. Hooah.
Detail, halt. Left, right. Order, arms.
Please be seated. Again, we're proud to bring up Ms. Tina Fisher with her rendition of God Bless America. Please sing along. Tina?
Please join me. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. Very good job. One thing I want to mention today was brought out to me in our program, take your programs. We're talking about Honor Flight, and we need to update it. Honor Flight is accepting not only World War II vets, Korean vets, but also Vietnam vets. Please submit your application. Okay. We will conclude today's ceremony with the retiring of our colors. Please stand.
Color guard. One step forward. Prepare to retrieve colors. Right, deep. Forward, hooah. Halt. Prepare to retrieve colors.
Present, arms.
Retrieve colors. Forward, hooah. Order, hooah.
Rifle team, order, arms.
Please be seated. I hope everyone enjoyed the ceremony today. We are honored to have everyone here, all the veterans and families and students. Thank you very much for your attendance. Upon conclusion, we would like to mention a few things. Outside in our parking lot today, we are honored to have the Lions Club. Lions Club is here to do free testing for your hearing and vision, so take advantage of it. There's 2 warm trailers out there that will help you. Veterans and families that are honored today are all 16. Please stop over to the table over the other side there. See Jennifer, she's got her hand raised over there. She has certificates that's suitable for framing for you. We also have refreshments available out our west area there, coffee and cookies, so please stand, mingle, reflect, and thank you for your service. God bless our United States of America. Thank you very much.